Agreed to help us celebrate Memorial Day with this presentation. So thank you again and welcome to our library.
Well, thank you very much. This is my first public presentation. Previously, all the other presentations had been for veteran groups. So what I'd like to do is start with a tribute to the armed forces. And because I don't, because we might have some civilians mixed in with us, if you want to stand when you hear your hymn or your song, so you can be acknowledged, that'd be great. I want to mention that when I gave a presentation for a Navy group, some older gentlemen from before Korea through the present day, when they heard their Navy song, it surprised me. They all started singing. And it was quite a memorable moment. It was hearing all these Navy guys singing their song. Unprovoked. They just started singing. So here's our tribute to the armed forces, and we'll begin.
First you fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's high, hey, the army's on its way. Shout out, we'll go, it's fun. For wherever you go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along.
appear before you today. I'd like to also welcome guests from in and outside the city of Hamtramck as well. In the year 2012, the weekend preceding Memorial Day, I heard a radio interview with Gregory Villanueva describing the events taking place Memorial Day and later that summer to celebrate the 150th anniversary of the Bugle Call Taps. During that interview, I realized how little I knew about the Bugle Call and thought it would also be beneficial for others to learn as well. As a result, tonight you will hear a basic explanation of Civil War bugle calls along with several events that occurred during that time in our history. I'd like to begin with a basic description describing the difference between a bugle and a trumpet. A bugle has a conical shape throughout with a mouthpiece shaped like a funnel, whereas a trumpet has a conical shape throughout, more round, with a mouthpiece shaped like a cup. It is the shape of the mouthpiece, the shape of the bell that produces different sounds in each. That's a basic difference in a bugle and a trumpet. Their shape and their mouthpiece. During the Civil War, it was very common to have a kepi headgear, both in the North and the South. And as you can see, it would be very difficult to tell who this soldier belonged to. What brigade, what division, what company. No way of telling. Corps badges appeared as a result of a general reprimanding officers from another command. It was General Daniel Butterfield who was assigned to develop these badges, which quickly added in the esprit de corps and the elevation of morale and discipline in the Army. What you have here is the Maltese Cross, denotes the 5th Corps. The red color, 1st Division. C Company, the Hunter's Horn, which denotes infantry unit, and one as well denoting the 1st Division. This particular kepi represents the Michigan Volunteer Infantry. There is no badge for a bugler. They are distinguished with a button worn on their collar, which is the lyre. It's a harp-like musical instrument from ancient Greece. Bugle calls are musical signals that announce scheduled and certain non-scheduled events on an Army installation. Scheduled bugle calls are prescribed by the commander and normally follow a regular sequence. Non-scheduled bugle calls are sounded by the direction of the commander. Bugle calls are divided into 4 classes: warning calls, formation calls, alarm calls, and service calls. There is a ceremonial bugle call. A bugler is required to know several other musical compositions that are performed at military ceremonies when a military band is not available. This ceremony music includes To the Colors, which we will hear today. Our first bugle call in the category of a service call is played at dawn to awaken the troops for morning roll call. It is also used to accompany the raising of the national colors. This bugle call is not one of the favorites of the troops. And if you want to get the gist of it, watch Irving Berlin's This Is the Army. This call is called Reveille. It's 25 seconds. is in the category of warning calls, played to signal a warning that personnel will prepare to assemble formation. That call is first call. It is 11 seconds, and we'll play. Do you recognize that from the Kentucky Derby or the Preakness?
I remember it from the movie.
And the movie too?
Yeah.
The next bugle call is in the category of a formation call, played to signal troops to assemble at a designated location. This call is assembly. It also is 11 seconds, and we'll play that a couple of times. The next bugle call is in the category of a warning call. It is played to warn the troops that they are about to be called to attention. Short and to the point. The next bugle call is in the category of a formation call, played to signal that the adjutant is about to form the guard, the battalion, or the brigade. This call will normally be accompanied by drums. The adjutant, a staff officer who assists the commanding officer in issuing orders. This is the adjutant's call. It's 13 seconds. This one. Okay, the next call is in the category of a service call. It is played to signal personnel that it's mealtime, and not necessarily a favorite time either. This call is used for all meals. This is the mess call, and it's 15 seconds. Next call is in the category of a service call, played to signal all troops that duties and drills should cease. This call is called recall, and it is 13 seconds. This is 24. This is recall. Yes. This is recall. Okay. This is in the category of a service call, played to signal the end of the official day. This is titled Retreat. It's also sounded just before the actual lowering of the U.S. flag, and also at sunset. Its purpose was to notify sentries to start challenging until sunrise. This is Retreat, 27 seconds. Call is in the category of a service call, played to signal that all lights in the squad rooms be extinguished and that all loud talking and disturbances be discontinued within 15 minutes. During the Civil War, the call was used as the final call of the day to extinguish all fires and lights. This is Tattoo. It's one of the longest bugle calls that you'll hear tonight. is in the category of ceremonial calls, played to render honors to the nation. It is used when no band is available to render honors or in ceremonies requiring honors to the nation more than once. To the caller commands all the same courtesies as the national anthem, but please, you don't have to stand. At the last note and to the caller, the flag is lowered. To the caller is 43 seconds. From a CD titled America Why I Love Her. This CD was first released in 1973, in which the Duke recited vignettes of this country's greatness and the people. At the end of his story, you're going to hear words that were put to the bugle called taps. The first words that were researched that were put to the taps was "go to sleep, go to sleep." As the years went on, many more were created. There are no official words to the music. Everyone hear that okay?
It was July in Virginia. The scent of the dogwood and the laurel lay heavy on the land, while the burgeoning fruit of the peach and the apple marked the full sway of summer. For 7 faithful days, the trees, the flowers, yes, the very ground itself, had shuddered under the roar of cannon, the bark of howitzers, and the crackling of a legion of rifles. Now all was silent. Sledgehammer blows of Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson had mauled the Army of the Potomac, and yet that army was not destroyed. 7,000 men had fallen in that dreadful week, and the savagery of the conflict was grimly evident in the river of wounded that wound through the green hills. Now a new sound drifted in the soft evening sky. For Colonel Dan Butterfield, a courageous and able soldier, was also a man of music. To honor his fallen comrades, he had composed a simple and heart-rending melody. On July 2nd, in the year of 1862, its strains floated over the graves that scarred the dark Virginia earth. It has been more than 100 years since that sound was born, but those notes have never died away. Every night of the year, throughout the world, fighting men of America from the north and the south, the east and the west, close their eyes and sleep to its call. And in each of their hearts, there glows a fierce surge of pride.
guest is Yari Villanueva. He's a 23-year ceremonial trumpeter, drum major, staff arranger with the United States Air Force Band in Washington, D.C. He has sounded taps over 3,000 times. He's a Civil War reenactor and historian. He was the curator of the TAPS exhibit at Arlington in 2012. He is considered our country's foremost authority on U.S. military bugle calls and the bugle call taps. Yari Villanueva.
Of all the military bugle calls, none is so easily recognized or more apt to stir our emotions than the haunting and eloquent melody of taps. The call is unique to the United States military. Taps is used at U.S. bases around the world as the final call of the day. It has given a sense of safety and security to U.S. soldiers from the Civil War on, signaling to our men and women in uniform that another day in service to their country is done and all is well. There is a wonderful myth about the origin of taps. During the Civil War, it says, there was a young soldier who was killed while fighting for the Confederacy. His father, a captain in the Union Army, came upon his son's body on the battlefield. In the pocket of his son's uniform, he found the notes for taps. This is a great story, but it's just that, a story. In 1862, Union General Daniel Butterfield and his brigade bugler, Oliver Wilcox Norton, revised an earlier bugle call to create the 24 notes we know today as taps. The new call quickly spread throughout the Union Army and was soon used even by Confederates to signal the end of the day. Later that same year, at a battlefield funeral, Captain John Tibble chose to forego firing the customary volleys over the grave for fear that he might rouse the enemy. The captain chose the sounding of taps as the most appropriate substitute. Today, sounding taps at ceremonies is the most sacred duty a bugler can perform. When I sound taps at a funeral, I'm sometimes approached by family members who wish to thank me for being part of the service. To answer, "You're welcome," seems inadequate. Instead, I always reply, "It is my honor."
The last bugle call we're going to hear is taps. It signals that unauthorized lights to be extinguished. This is the last call of the day. The call is also sounded at the completion of a military funeral ceremony. We're going to hear a sequence of 3 bugle calls, 3 different bugle calls of taps. The first being the original 24 notes, the second being echo taps, and then third, an orchestra version of the bugle call. Now what I like to do is dedicate the 24 note taps to those residents or past those residents of Hamtramck that have given the ultimate sacrifice. I will ask civilians, when we play the 24 note taps, to place their hand over their hearts. I will give the order for all veterans to present arms, and at the conclusion, order arms.
We should stand.
So we'll stand for the 24 note taps. At that conclusion, you can take your seat and listen to echo taps. I'd like to say about echo taps, because we're going to roll right into that. Echo taps grew in popularity. As echo taps grew in popularity, it was not uncommon to hear the sound of taps performed at the same time each evening by buglers in other countries, other companies, thereby giving it the echo effect. And sometimes you even had Confederates in their camps that were close enough, and they were playing taps as well. So you're not only getting it from the Union, but also from the Confederate Army. So I will ask everyone to rise. We'll play 24 notes. Veterans, present arms. Order, arms. And please be seated. Echo taps. Visit to John Wayne's CD, America and Why I Love Her. Actress Maureen O'Hara shared the screen with Wayne in 5 movies: Rio Grande, The Quiet Man, Wings of Eagles, McLintock, and Big Jake. Well, O'Hara once said that no other description for John Wayne is necessary than this: American. And what I'd like to conclude with is a cut on a CD called The People.
What makes the world America ring when the sunlight crowns the air? It's people, her people, and God their own king, with blood, sweat, and tears and a prayer.
Louis Armstrong on a golden trumpet, Marian Anderson singing the Lord's Prayer, the savage power of Jack Dempsey, the quiet pride of Jesse Owens, Merle Haggard singing Okie from Muskogee, Chet Atkins picking a guitar, Bing Crosby at Christmas time, and Charles Lindbergh crossing the Atlantic alone.
A sharecropper's son, an immigrant boy, a hobo who rode all the rails. The magic guitar of an old country boy, a lone Bugle who pioneered trade.
Sandy Koufax staring down at a batter while Willie Mays chants his "Say Hey." Maria Tallchief riding in Swan Lake, while Fred Astaire dances on gossamer wings. Billy Grant bringing God to millions. Joan Salk bringing hope to the world. Mahalia Jackson closing her eyes in devotion. Johnny Cash singing at the White House.
What makes the word America ring with the song that rises the air? These people are people who have done their own thing with blood, sweat, and tears and a prayer.
Willie Shoemaker hootin' swaps home, while Eddie Arcaro wins the Triple Crown on the citation. Arnie Palmer winning the Open, while Eddie Arnold is winning Hearts. Tom Orman threading the field for Michigan, while Bob Morrison plays his heart out for Troy. Kate Smith singing God Bless America, and Irving Berlin who wrote it. Then there are those unheralded, whose dedication to our country is strong and true. The builders of America, those who make her factories hum, the loggers of her great forests, the men who labor deep in her mines, and the man who works with his hands, the farmer who toils from dawn to dusk, those who carry her bountiful yield to all the states of our union, the railroaders, our merchant sailors, the airline pilots, and those modern knights of the road, the truck drivers. These and others like them have earned their right to walk proudly with the knowledge that their goals were achieved through honest toil and in a spirit of harmony found in the people working together in this great land.
What makes the word America ring with the song that rises the air?
It's people, her people, who have done their own thing, with blood, sweat, and tears, and their prayer.
Well, that concludes my presentation for you all. And if there's anything you do remember out of this, that there are 24 notes in the Bugle called taps that's going to be played Monday all day long, probably. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was such a perfect presentation, really. I hope that you can do this again next year, and we will invite high school students. They will, yeah, really, it was perfect. Perfect.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
7 seconds.